Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the king of armor destruction in the Armor Wizard Zap Zap. I've got a body armor test for you today, but it is in a non-traditional shape. This is actually a shield from RTS Tactical. Look at this bad boy right here. This is a very large shield. It is heavy. I think it weighs 17.05 pounds. It's approximately 290 thousandths thick, or for our friends over across the pond, 7.35 millimeters. In full transparency, RTS Tactical contacted me and asked to provide a demonstration review on this bad boy right here. While reviewing this shield, I found a couple alternative uses for it. One, it can be used for dirt boarding or dirt skiing. And I also found it's good at stopping organic materials when being pelted at by your wife. All jokes aside, over here on my channel, we do things a little different. We're more on the data side of things, and we're worst case scenario. I'm trying to give you guys as much information as possible when demoing armor so that you can take that information away and make better buying decisions. Being that this is a pistol rated shield, level 3A, it's got some special threat assessments. We're going to shoot this at 45 feet because we're going to shoot some rifle threats at it, and it is a steel plate. We use a chronograph whenever possible so we get the velocity. We also shoot at 0 degrees because that is worst case scenario. Being that this is a shield, you know, if you're going to use this, you could angle this down and potentially ricochet stop rounds from you back at your adversary. But 0 degrees represents the worst case for this because that is the least amount of material that this particular design has to stop. Since this is a shield, we're not really concerned about our back face, but we use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma Plastilina #1 clay donated by Chiffon. This, in this case, is just going to act as a giant hard object for us to place the shield up against, so there's maximum energy transfer into the plate so that it's not wasting it, swinging it backwards. It's around 75 to 80 degrees outside and humid today. At the beginning and the end of our videos, we put a spreadsheet that we kind of foreshadow all the threats that we're going to shoot at it, and then in the end and post, I double check and verify any of our penetrations and velocity figures, and we put that all in a nice little package for you and send you on your merry way. I forgot to mention in the opening video that this is a 14 by 24 panel, so it is fairly large. At 290 thousandths thick, being steel, it is going to be pretty darn heavy. I know there are some either ultra high molecular weight polyethylene or ceramic and polyethylene shields out there that weigh a little less. So you definitely want to be lifting some weights to be able to hold that for an extended period of time. Being that this is 3A with some special threat ratings, I had to come up with some different rounds that I thought would be a good challenge for it. Otherwise, I don't want to be too boring. So we have the cream of the crop 5.7 rounds here. We have our SS190 AP. That is the restricted armor piercing round that FN has. It's 31 grains with a little conical steel penetrating tip. I do believe that tip is very much identical to the SS109 projectile tip. Then we have Vanguard Outfitters Black Dragon Fang. That is a 34 grain solid copper round. Both of these excel at our flexible aramid, Kevlar, and polyethylene 3A. But once you introduce steel into this, then that kind of goes out the window. We've got the longest barrel length that we have with us, our Keltec P50 here. This is a little top loader. Got a Kestrel 22 up top. We'll take the 2 rounds of SS190 first, then the Black Dragon Fang. We'll put quite a few shots on this plate before we go down and see what we did, because there's just a lot of area, and with steel can take a lot of shots. You probably will get some fragmentation coming off this coating by the time we're done, but since this is a shield, probably not going to be an issue. This one I will place on the top left. Did not get a velocity reading off that. It sucks. What about top middle? Air. Well, that's not doing too good for us. We'll go right below that for the Black Dragon Fang. 2248, pretty good velocity. Now put this one right next to it. Air, great. Lots of errors today. Now on to another caliber known for 3A penetration, 4.6 by 30 millimeters from Heckler & Koch, however you say their name. We're going to just call them H&K. We actually have our CMMG 4.6, which is, to my knowledge, the only US-based gun chambered in 4.6. I have two loads for you. I have a 31 grain solid copper load from Vanguard Outfitters. This is their 31 grain penetrator. And I actually have the the APSX load from Fiocchi. It basically is a solid steel penetrator with a very thin jacket on it. I believe Oxide is probably the only other channel that's shot that on camera. Very nasty little round. This has an 8-inch barrel, so we should be getting, you know, MP7-like velocities out of this. We'll place that shot first. It should be let's see. Hopefully down on the left side by the bolt for the handle. I think we got a velocity reading off that, 2492. Then I'll walk these right in a line next to it. Nice. Now we're going to step up into some rifle caliber threats for this 3A, and I have a feeling that it should stop this. This is our 6.5 Grendel. One of my followers sent me a box of this from Underwood. This is their 105 grain flash tip. They claim 2,800 feet per second on the box. I'm going to guess that's out of a 16 or 18-inch barrel. Hopefully we can capture the velocity of this particular round. We just have a 12.5-inch upper from Palmetto State Armory here. I'll place 2 rounds of this. I got the offset pretty good from what I wrote down, so we should be good to go. Now I got a round stuck in the magazine there. There we go. These should be right above the 4.6 rounds. $23, $25. $22.96. Pretty good velocity off those. The velocity on the box must be out of longer barrels. Don't worry, AK fans, I didn't forget about you. I've got some mild steel core Chinese 7.62x3.9. This plate is actually special threat rated against that. I have a 10.5-inch Brownell's BRN Gen 2 chambered in 7.62x3.9. This particular upper has the recoil spring assembly inside of it, so you don't necessarily need the buffer tube here. It works on any mil-spec AR lower, so that's why it has a buffer tube on it. We'll take 3 shots of this. This is going to be more towards the bolts a little bit, the upper bolts. That is loud with that muzzle brake on there. Pretty good velocity coming off those. Now I'm deaf. Now we're not messing around anymore. We brought out our 5.56 threats, which is going to get a little bit spicy. Again, this is special threat rated for M855. We'll see how long of a barrel length it can take. It is pretty thin, although I think a majority of that thickness is the actual steel plate. So I have M193, that is a 55 grain full metal jacket that is known for penetrating steel type armor. We have M855, 62 grain ball round conical steel penetrating tip. Good against polyethylene, not good against steel. Then we have the Army's current issue M855A1 EPR round. The steel tip is much larger and harder on that sample, like 5960 on the Rockwell C scale. Many people think the M855 steel tip is a mild steel, but it's actually hardened as well, 4950 on the C scale. We have a 10.5-inch upper with a turbo 5.56 suppressor on there. We've got 2 shots of each. I think we'll go look at the plate after that. Got a primary arms 3X Cyclops up here. So these should be on the left side of the plate. 27, ooh, pretty good velocity off that. And I just broke a strap. This should be on the left side still. All right, we'll go back to the dots to the next of it. So this is the second shot of M855. Then our A1, I'm going to place at the bottom of the plate. Just got gassed out from my suppressor, but let's go see what we did before we continue. There's a lot of hits on this plate, and it's going to get hard to discern what's what because of how this coating either breaks away and or doesn't show shots at all. But you can see here was the 5.7s, here was our AK rounds, 6.5 Grendel, the 4.6 rounds, then M193 was 1, 2, M855, number 1 was here, number 2 was right here, and then our 2 A1 shots were down here. I would consider all these fair hits. I will say again, steel is good at absorbing lots and lots and lots of hits, as long as you bear in mind that velocity becomes a factor depending on the bullet construction against it. Place those bets in the comments below. 0 penetrations whatsoever so far. Now we're only with a 10.5-inch 5.56. I think we'll go up to the 16 next. I think that's where we're going to see some penetrations, likely from M193. I'm really interested to see the breaking point of this particular piece of steel against M193. So we have 2 more rounds of that and 2 rounds of M855A1. This is a 14.5-inch upper from Pro 2A Tactical. Very nice little setup. I did have to put an adjustable gas block on it because the barrel is overgassed quite a bit. Still have the primary arms 3X optic up top. It should be on the right side of the plate. Saw some sparks fly down there. Getting pretty good velocity off this 14.5-inch. We brought the 16-inch out to throw 2 more rounds of M855 at it. This is actually the longest barrel length that I brought with us today. We'll have to defer to RTS Tactical's special threat rating for the maximum velocity for M855. This is a Palmetto State Armory build. Got a Rise armament trigger in here. 1X Cyclops. These should be in the middle of the plate. I'm somewhat optimistic that this plate will stop our final threat here. We have a SCAR 17S pistol. This is built on the Imperial Arms Co. Cypher X0 upper receiver. Very nice little package. Has a 13.1-inch barrel, or 13 on it. We have some M80 ball, 145 grain full metal jacket. This is the load that NIJ level 3 is spec'd against, but it's going 2750 plus or minus something or other. Out of this particular barrel length, we should see around 2,500 feet per second, so quite a bit faster than anything 7.62 by 3.9 or 300 Blackout wishes it could do with a similar bullet weight. Let's see here. So these should be all shots on the lower part of the plate. $2,400 something or other. All right, let's go see what we did. Before I show you the plate, I figured I would show you the fragmentation that can come off any type of plate. Not only steel, but ceramic as well, but to a lesser extent. This is typically exasperated more on steel plates because of how that strike face actually stops the bullet. But this was a brand new table, and you can see that we're actually eating through this plastic here with all of these shots. Now granted, you know, we've got 20 plus shots in the same area on this one, but my poor little table is already got damage to it. Let's take a look at our plate. Our final shots of M855 were right here in the center. Our 14.5 inch M193 shots number 1, 2 were right here. Then A1 shot number 1 and 2. Then our M80 ball from the 13-inch barrel was right in here. Shots number 1, 2, and 3. Place those bets in the comments below. Probably could actually just, almost could just peel that off. Here. R.A.N.G.E. We have penetrations from the 14.5 inch on both of those shots. Our M80 ball, though, look at that, stopped. And you can just get the lenses off here. Whatever. Interesting. Very little dimpling, if at all, from any of these other shots on this plate. I do believe, from what they told me at RTS Tactical, they're using the same hardness steel that they use in their actual body armor plates, and I think that was AR600, if I remember right. So very, very tough. There's our 4 holes in the backside, my poor clay briefcase. You can see the holes right there. Pretty darn tough little plate. And I think that's about all she wrote, folks. Bonus round. I feel we should always represent our 300 blackout guys whenever we can, so I have 2 specialty loads for this caliber. I'm kind of using this as a judge to see what 8.6 blackout is capable of when I eventually get the rest of the components I need to build that. So I have M2AP and M80A1 loaded in our 300 blackout. M2AP is the round that level 4 is judged against, but it's at a much higher velocity, you know, 2880 feet per second. I think we see 16 to 1900 out of that. Then M80A1 is the Army's current EPR round in 308. That's going 3000 feet per second. I think we're right around 1900 out of this 10.5 inch 300 blackout. Got the JK Armament rifle kit on there. We'll take the M2AP load first. Trying to remember my offsets here. Pretty good velocity off that. Then the M80A1. Awesome. Our final 2 shots from 300 blackout, our M80A1 was right here and our M2AP was right here. There was 0 penetrations from those 2 rounds. And guess what? There's no teardown portion of this video because this is a solid piece of steel with our rhino lining type coating on here. Very thin. Like I said, this is more so a shield. So the fragmentation coming off of it is still a concern depending on how you hold that shield. Like I said, you could angle it down. I'm fairly impressed with RTS Tactical's steel offering given what it can stop for its given thickness. Now, there's always that argument about steel versus ceramic or even polyethylene. And with polyethylene, your weakness comes from stopping rounds like M855. It can stop M193 going at insane speeds, but M855 poses a problem for it. I was impressed that from our pistol Scar 17, those 3 rounds of M80 ball were stopped. I would say the only downside to a shield design like this is its 17-pound weight. You are probably not going to be Captain America running around throwing the shield at people. Although if you have this in your vehicle and you need to harden, say, your door or something to provide yourself with actual cover versus concealment, this may not be a half bad idea. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here because I'm going to go have Moe's Southwest for dinner. But at the end of all of my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who helped make these possible. Number 1 is my Patreon and Subscribe Star fans. I have a link tree in the description below with various ways to get a hold of me. I'm still running my Road to 50,000 subscribers giveaway, so there is a link to that first giveaway there. We're going to probably do 2 or 3 of those. Number 2 is RTS Tactical. Again, in full transparency, sent me that shield to demo with no strings attached. I feel that I can go above and beyond some of the other channels and show you the performance limits of our body armor. And of course, number 3 is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.